Welcome to the Duelyst games. I'll be your host, Ben, and today we are definitely showcasing the game between Xerix Starstrider versus Vath Immortal. Xerix, hailing from Akaram, is here as the underdog of the Duelyst games. Definitely seen across the board as one of the weaker contenders attending this year's games. Definitely Vath here is favored. However, we do see a good start from Xerix here. We do see him put down the Obelisk, which is extremely dominant when played on the early turns because the opponent does not have a way to deal with it normally. And currently there is no direct way to deal with the Obelisk, so it will get at least equal value for its cost with the Wind Shroud on the Blazehound. Now for the perspective play, we do see that there's the Primus Fist and the First Wish, so he could get a clean kill off just using the Wind Shroud if he chose to. In fact, he could go for a 5-mana play, putting down the Primus Fist, the First Wish, and the Healing Mystic. Or first we see him remove the Star Fury. He has two choices. He could go for a 5-mana play with the Primus Fist, Healing Mystic, and the First Wish. However, the Healing Mystic won't get any value off his Battle Cry from his opening gambit, so he could opt to actually just use a Primus Fist and Healing Mystic. This actually opens up a 5-mana play next turn for Xerix if he's able to block off the Mana Spring. The Windstorm doesn't seem to be doing too much right now. After all, you only really want it when you're dropping down your 2-3 Dervishes using your Bloodborne spell. So it looks like he's going for the 4-mana play here, using his general to attack in, just to set up for a 5-mana play next turn. The 2 damage is probably inconsequential as long as the Obelisk is declared. He's currently in a really dominant position. He does have 2/2/3 minions, which is about 4 mana value, and the Obelisk, which is another 2 mana. So he's dominating with a 6 mana board advantage. Now Vath here, with a 4 mana play, ideally he'll have a Sworn Sister to drop, because if he puts a Sworn Sister down below the Xerix Starstrider, he's going to have a very dominating, imposing minion that currently Xerix doesn't have any way to deal with it at all. So it looks like he has a minion to play. Let's see what he puts down. A Young Sister is not quite what Vath is looking for. And Primus Fist, it's very easy for Xerix to deal with it just with what the board is here already. So right now, Magmar General Vath is extremely behind. It looks like it's raining a little bit in the Duelyst games, but I don't think it'll affect the performance of either of these contenders. Rain is not exactly something that deters them from battle. Alright, putting on the First Wish on the Healing Mystic is definitely putting it up for a clean kill off of any of the opponent minions, or even putting damage on Vath the Immortal if he chose to. Xerix is definitely looking for different options. He does have a clean buff with the Doomcaster on the Wind Shroud, which means that he's putting on a body on the board and getting a very clean kill off of the Primus Fist, and even able to develop this Bloodborne spell by putting an Iron Shroud on the board. Definitely maintaining this lead very well. It's hard to say how he's going to come back. Magmar General, a 5-mana play, it could be a swing turn depending on what he runs as on the 5-mana slot. A Dancing Blaze will not do much. A Zenrui will do a lot by taking the Obelisk. Alright, so he's going for that play. It's quite strong. It definitely swings it a little bit. It's a 8-mana swing across the board. But we see that Xerix held on to the Zenrui. It means that he's going to be able to take the Obelisk back using Zenrui, swinging it back in and maintaining his board advantage that he currently has. He has a very simple trade here and is able to develop a board presence again. The next turn is a key turn for Vath the Immortal, because normally a War Beast will come down and that could have a dramatic effect on the board. Although Xerix did play around it slightly by attacking with the Primus Fist, which means that he's going to at least get in 2 damage before the War Beast comes out. And there it is, the War Beast, so it's going to clear out a few minions. However, the board state is still even, and Xerix here is still able to play proactively, put on the pressure on Magmar to answer his threats. And threats he does have with Amara Healer. He also has the option of putting on the Duelyst and the Primus Fist, although that would require for him to sack the Dunecaster into the Vath the Immortal. Now with the replace, it looks like he's going to drop down Mara Healer. It seems like he's not afraid of Egg Morph, but I think if you're going to run a Mara Healer, you can't be afraid of these cards because every class has a way to remove big minions. Unfortunately, Egg Morph is one of the best ways to remove a Mara Healer, but it is a risk he's going to have to take, and he's still maintaining a board presence. So even if he did have the Egg Morph, he will be able to contest whatever comes down because he'll only have 3 mana to utilize. So I'm going to say that Xerix in this position is a very good spot. It looks like it's going to be an upset by taking out the Magmar General. Alright, Elucidator. So maybe Xerix made a mistake by attacking Magmar General. There's actually a possibility of lethal here. If he has another Greater Fortitude 2, has a Primus Fist, he can deal the 9 damage to take out Xerix Starstrider. But it looks like he doesn't have it, and 2 mana isn't very good for dealing 2 damage at the moment. Or there it is, Blood Tier Alchemist. It looks like that Xerix is going to be taking this match a huge upset by taking out Vath the Immortal in this game. Yeah, there's nothing he can do at this point unless he's going to flash out some kind of removal, but that is not currently a possibility. So, going to attack with a Mara Healer, going to put down the Saber Spine Tiger for the damage. Alright, we'll be back after a short break. We're back at the Duelyst games. Here is round 2 between Xerix Starstrider and Vath the Immortal for the semis. Xerix managed to pick up an opening play with Healing Mystic, and is there with follow-ups with a Dalatus or even a Wind Shroud. Not a Wind Shroud, a Wind Strike, excuse me. Vath has a couple of turn 1 options. Normally it will be 2 2-drops. 2 Young Slithersters would be quite ideal for him. Blistering Scorn is a little bit of a weaker play because it's only a 3/3 body, although it does take off 1 health off of a Healing Mystic. Wow is going to get really stormy in this game. He managed to put down the amplification on the Blistering Scorn, which is pretty insane, putting down a 5/7 body on turn 1. Good thing he does have the Dispel in his hand, so Xerix is able to deal with the threat before it goes out of control. And it looks like he's going to go for a 5 mana play, developing the Saber Spine Tiger and the Wind Shroud so he can utilize his mana fully. It doesn't put that much advantage for Xerix currently because he's only developing 2 to 3 mana of creatures on the board, so he doesn't have a huge advantage. But Vath Immortal is definitely hoping for that Earth Sister Tegedi to swing the game back in his favor because he's a little bit behind right now, and a Tegedi will be perfect for bringing things back. Or he chooses to get rid of the Imperial Shroud and develop a Young Slither. Not quite what Vath is looking for again. You see here that he's developing 2 minions, but it does make things a little bit weaker for him right now. It's not quite as good as Tegedi, but this is good enough for him right now. Xerix is going to have to develop probably the Dalatus because it's a little bit of a slower card compared to the Wind Strike. Because the Wind Strike is there for card draw and it's not as imposing as the Dalatus. Here you see that he's actually not going for either of the 4 drops, but instead cycling out that first wish and going for clean trades across the board. It is quite a stronger play than a 4-drop actually, because he's able to take out Young Slither as well as develop a Healing Mystic, and the heal on the other Healing Mystic is really excellent. Now as for his positioning, it looks like he's going to back up a little bit and take out the egg naturally. Well, he's still going for full mana utilization by putting down Iron Shroud and the Healing Mystic, and it looks like he's going to play a Healing Mystic to protect the Iron Shroud because right now the Iron Shroud is easy to take out with the Young Slither, but this way there's actually no way to take out the Iron Shroud without some sort of out-of-hand damage from Vath Immortal. I really do enjoy that play right there. It's really excellent. Good thinking from Xerix Starstrider. Thunder in the stadium. It shouldn't be facing either of the generals though. They're both very experienced generals in Bloodborne battle. Our Vath is first going for a kill off of the Healing Mystic on top. And it's going for a trade of exchange of hits. An amplification, so he did that as an activator for amplification. So this 4/5 body is not something to laugh at, and the Healing Mystic there also putting out full value. A 4/7 body is quite imposing. Currently Xerix has no way to deal with this. He does have one other Imperial Shroud, but there's a low possibility of him grabbing it. He could sack a lot of things, but it looks like he's opting to not do that by getting rid of the Saber Spine Tiger. But here he does have the Dunecaster, so he can go for a clean trade off of the other opposing Healing Mystic. But I think it's the best time to develop a Dalatus and just be a little bit timid about your minions. Still protecting the Iron Shroud, preparing for that Dunecaster to come in and do 4 damage. And the Dalatus is put behind him. Really a great positioning from Xerix here. This does play around a Dancing Blaze, which may or may not be in the Magmar General's deck, but it's definitely something you do not want to risk. Well, right now we have possibly an even board between the 2 generals, Bloodborne generals. Alright, he's putting down the Lacan, so he's filling up his hand, so it's giving the Vath Immortal more options right now for future potential plays. And it looks like he's putting on pressure by putting on damage, but it looks like that the Dalatus is going right into Young Slither, and Xerix is going to be safe with the Tombstone. Although it depends on where the Tombstone lands, but however, I don't see that Xerix would be in danger of dying now anyway, so he's probably safe no matter how the Tombstone lands. It looks like he opts out to use his general to actually attack into the egg. He's still being a little bit conservative with the Iron Shroud, but this is fine because he's using the Dunecaster to buff it up so he can get a clean kill off of the Sworn Sister Lacan. Very, very clean hit. And Wind Strike is coming down as well, so he's still utilizing his mana very, very well, and is in very dominant position with the Tombstone and the many minions on the board, so he should be able to deal with anything that comes out. But this goes into turn 7. He does have, if he has a War Beast, he could do a little bit of damage. And he does have the War Beast. And he chooses to go get rid of both the dervishes. And puts on a lot of pressure, putting Xerix down to... No, he's not choosing to attack Xerix. I'm surprised by that. He's actually choosing to attack the Tombstone. I mean, the Tombstone is not putting an immense amount of pressure, but I guess he does want to put on damage on the Tombstone while he can. Just in case that it comes to block him or gets buffed at any point, possibly. So he could go for his general killing the War Beast, although it looks like he's using the process on Tombstone to get the clean kill off of the War Beast. Definitely one of the great utilizations of Tombstone. Buffs, 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 buffs. But that means he's putting a second wish on the Wind Strike, putting on immense pressure, 6 damage per turn, and it's not going to die without some kind of removal or dispel. And even dispel is not very strong because Wind Strike already did damage, and dispelling it will only remove a card draw and still leave a 4/3 body, which is an immense amount of pressure. The Star Fury coming into Xerix's hand is not very useful since he's already head on board, but if he's already head on board, he's in a fine position, a very fine position to take this game. They're both at the same amount of health, and Xerix is going in with the superior board position. Alright, dropping the Tegeti here. That's possibly one of the best proactive plays he can do. He has enough mana for another Tegeti, which would be really excellent. The Blistering Scorn here is going to clear off most of the 2 health minions on the board, in combination with the Earthsay Tegeti. Definitely a very, very strong play right there. And it's going to back up and keep himself safe. Now looking at this board position with the Star Fury, he could deal potentially 8 damage to Vath the Immortal. Not quite enough to close out the game, but he's going to have to deal with the Earth Sister somehow. And it looks like Star Fury will be the way to get rid of the Earth Sister if he doesn't have another choice. The Wind Strike can stay to continue to develop pressure on Vath the Immortal, but we have the second wish, so Xerix is also taking the second match against Vath the Immortal, moving on to the finals for the Duelyst games. Amazing, the underdog taking out one of the favorites for the Duelyst games and moving on to the finals. And there you go, that is the Star Fury that we have here, taking out the Blistering Scorn, allowing the Princess to deal the last 2 damage. But Vath concedes beforehand. We'll be back right after this. Alright, on to the finals. We do see a strange occurrence in the finals. 2 underdogs definitely taking it on. Xerix Starstrider versus Steel Starstrider, both hailing from Akram. And it seems like Xerix on the right here has a little bit more of a untraditional list, putting down a Chaos Elemental, as well as having a huge Siphon Energy play on the Obelisk, rendering it useless for 0 mana. The Chaos Elemental is a 3 mana 4/4, but it teleports around, so it may not be super useful. I do not like the positioning of the Chaos Elemental. First of all, he did not utilize the extra mana, as well as he put it in a weird position. But the landing of the Chaos Elemental puts him in a good position to still approach a Mana Spring, which is very, very nice for Dragal over here. Dragal is Xerix Starstrider. But the Healing Mystic here is to block off one of the Mana Springs, but it's not really blocking it off since the Chaos Elemental is able to access one of the Mana Springs. So we're not going to be able to see a 5 mana play, most likely, by Morgard here on the left. But he does still have a lot of good potential plays with a Wind Strike, the First Wish for potential plays, and Duelyst coming down is very, very strong. A 4 mana play. Duelyst is definitely putting on immense pressure on Morgard here. Well, it's a little bit tough here for Morgard here. He does have the Zenrui to potentially grab the Tombstone of Duelyst on the top. However, it looks like he's going to have to go for a 5 mana play, actually, potentially. Definitely, he could choose to go with the Iron Shroud or the First Wish. However, it looks like he's going to trade in the Healing Mystic for Chaos Elemental, just removing that bit of pressure from the board, and develop his own 4 mana play. So he's going to probably, hopefully, even out the board position by developing this Wind Strike. And it looks like he's going to go with that Iron Shroud, putting on a little bit of pressure, although the Iron Shroud is very insignificant. The opposing general can definitely take out the Iron Shroud immediately just by using his general to attack. So definitely an even position, slightly favored towards Dragal here on the right. But both of these are underdogs coming to finals, so whoever wins, we're definitely seeing a Vetruvian gold medalist for the Duelyst games. Putting down a second Duelyst, even more pressure coming down on Morgard here. Definitely hard. You can see hear the thunder coming in. Definitely representative of Morgard's position right now. Two Duelysts are very hard to deal with, and he doesn't even have a way to deal with both of them. He has he does have a Zenrui to take the tombstone of one of the Duelysts. Now it looks like he's going for the trade on the Duelyst, hoping to steal the tombstone off of Zenrui with the Zenrui. Unbelievable! This looks like Morgard made a little slight error in his positioning or his order. He should have taken out the Iron Shroud first, and then that gives him the option to play down the Zenrui to take the tombstone. However, he did not, so he's unable to play the Zenrui to take the tombstone. Instead, he's going to have to opt for playing a Duelyst. Definitely a huge mistake on Morgard's side. Although the tombstone is not too important. It's not like he is a Linar, which he can put on 10 damage on the tombstone. So this may not be the worst mistake that could have happened, and the Zenrui is still open to take the tombstone on the following turn, or even the tombstone of the other Duelysts on the board. But looks like Xerx here on the right is not going to take away this opportunity and definitely put on pressure, so there is no options for the Duelyst to come down to take, or the Zenrui to come down to take the tombstone, excuse me. And he's definitely putting on pressure, putting on the damage, 14 health for Morgard, and an inferior board position going into turn 5. Alright, Morgard's going to have to replace something. Probably one of the Amari healers. It's not going to do too much. It doesn't have too much of a board impact and will not be able to block anything off currently. The Obelisk is also not very useful right now because its effect is not quite immediate. However, there's only 6 power on the board, so it does mean that the Obelisk does have a chance to survive just from the board presence alone. And he is attacking the Tombstone, so he's not going to steal it this turn, although it's not unlikely. And he's using the Saber Spine Tiger to remove the Tombstone. Excellent. This does allow him to develop an Obelisk or Healing Mystic, and if he positions his Obelisk in a nice manner, it's actually probably best to put down the Obelisk because it has a potential for infinite value. And if he does position it over there on that corner, that does mean that the board cannot take out the Obelisk this turn, which is very essential because if he's unable to take out the Obelisk, then the Wind Strikes can get out of control by putting down many Wind Strikes. More than 1, more than 2, definitely a lot of value for a 2-mana play. However, anything like a Zenrui from the opponent here can definitely take Obelisk and use it towards his advantage. And he does have some clean trades with the Iron Shroud on the board and the Saber Spine Tiger. So it looks like he's opting to take out the Saber Spine Tiger and the Iron Shroud. At this point, the Tombstone from the opposing general is not very useful because there's so much power here on Morgard's side of the field, which means that he's going to be able to deal with the Tombstone in 1 or 2 turns, and that would definitely put on a lot of pressure on Xerx on the right. A Dominant Will, however, will swing the game in his favor, taking the Duelyst, which is a 4-mana creature, removing it for 4, and giving him another Duelyst for 7. Which is amazing. Amazing swing into Dragal's favor right now. Looks like the Wind Shroud is going to take a very clean kill off of Lacan, and looks like we're going to see the Zenrui now. And possibly with a Healing Mystic or Inferior Shroud on the Duelyst. He has to be a little bit afraid of a second Dominant Will, and probably is getting rid of the Amari Healer. He doesn't want the Dominant Will to take on Amari Healer. That'd be too big of a swing for him to recover from. But over here, taking out the Duelyst with Dominant Will is okay, and turns out to be fine. Morgard's able to deal with this. The Zenrui is another swing in his favor, which means he's going to give himself a little bit more time to develop other things. The Entropic Decay definitely being a weak play here, taking out a Tombstone, which is half of a Duelyst, which means he's definitely being very inefficient in removing that Tombstone. Now, do we see him put on more damage, seeing that Morgard's only at 12 health? No, it looks like he's going to trade with Zenrui, which is pretty nice. He does want to put down the other Tombstone for some reason. But definitely maintain the board presence, definitely putting on pressure, keeping the board advantage. It seems to be the important thing. And putting down Lore Master means he's going to have more entropic decays. And a Blood Tier Alchemist is there so he can get rid of the Healing Mystery. However, the Obelisk is still in play, which means he's going to be able to take out the Lore Master potentially. So no unexpected landings here. The Iron Shroud is, well, the Wind Shroud here can take out the Lore Master. It looks like it's going to be a turn for Imperial Shroud. The Tombstone is very, very limiting in his options, and he's going to want to take out the minions, so it gives his opponent less options later. Cycling through the First Wish, definitely very reasonable. Putting down Silver Spine Tiger is an interesting potential here. It definitely does put more damage potential. It looks like he's going to trade with the Lore Master, lets Morgard here run away, take out the Blood Tier Alchemist possibly for the value. Now it depends on whether he wants to put on the Wind Strike. There is a little chance for Morgard here to die to anything because he does have 10 health, and 10 health is very difficult for Vetruvian General to deal with. It's not like some Songhai player putting down a Spell Technique and a general hit for the damage. So he's going to put the Wind Strike up there, so it plays around a little bit around the Dominant Will. Although I would have liked the positioning better if the Wind Strike went down one tile, because it doesn't really matter, because the Wind Strike is not accidental by any of the opposing Vetruvian General's minions. However, in the case of a Star Fury, this does allow him to develop one more Wind Shroud, which could be the difference of the game. Alright, we do see the other Entropic Decay being used out on the Obelisk. Very inefficient, 2 mana, 4 mana removal. And a second Akurai Lore Master, which means that he does have another Entropic Decay. But his positioning is a little bit checkerboard, which means he's making himself very, 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 very vulnerable to Star Fury. Right now, being able to spawn in 3 Star Furies seems to be enough to close out the game. 4 Star Furies. Alright, the Iron Shroud landed at a good spot, so there's only 3 Star Furies. However, we do see that there is enough damage here. 3 Wind Shrouds, the Wind Strike, and the Saber Spine Tiger will close out the game for Morgard. And here we're going to have Xeric Star Strider here win the Duelyst games with a gold medal, bringing home Akram. Unfortunately, he had to take out another Vetruvian competitor, but that's just beautiful. An underdog takes over the Duelyst games, bringing home 2 medals for Akram. Congratulations. And I was your host, Ben. I'll be signing out. Alright, hey, welcome to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed that Olympic style gameplay, but otherwise I thought that Xeric Star Strider turned out to be okay in these games in particular. However, maybe I was a little bit lucky in how the games went because people weren't putting too much pressure on me, and instead I was able to dominate them just through putting down the Obelisk. But anyway, if you want to check out some more Duelyst action, be sure to check out some more Duelyst action here on the right. Oh no, this one says subscribe actually. And subscribe. See ya!